Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm outside today on this quite beautiful afternoon, so I wanted to continue with the theme of meditation, and today I just wanted to offer an inspiring story that inspired me, and I hope that it will do the same for yourself. So just a short video for today. Just one moment. So this is again from my current favourite book at the minute, which is A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, and it's telling a story called The Lost Ring, which is a story of him in his earlier life. So when I was seeing people as a counsellor and a spiritual teacher, I would visit a woman twice a week whose body was riddled with cancer. She was a school teacher in her mid-40s and had been given no more than a few months to live by her doctors. Sometimes a few words were spoken during those visits, but mostly we would sit together in silence, and as we did, she had her first glimpses of the stillness within herself that she never knew existed during her busy life as a school teacher. One day, however, I arrived to find her in a state of great distress and anger. "What happened?" I asked. Her diamond ring, of great monetary as well as sentimental value, had disappeared, and she said she was sure it had been stolen by the woman who came to look after her for a few hours every day. She said she didn't understand how anybody could be so callous and heartless as to do this to her. She asked me whether she should confront this woman or whether it would be better to call the police immediately. I said I couldn't tell her what to do, but asked her to find out how important a ring or anything else was at this point in her life. "You don't understand," she said. "This was my grandmother's ring. I used to wear it every day until I got ill and my hands became too swollen. It's more than just a ring to me. How can I not be upset?" The quickness of her response and the anger and defensiveness in her voice were indications that she had not yet become present enough to look within and to disentangle her reaction from the event and observe them both. So to disentangle the reaction to the event and observe them both. Her anger and defensiveness were signs that the ego was still speaking through her. I said, "I'm going to ask you a few questions, but instead of answering them now, see if you can find the answers within you. I will pause briefly after each question. When an answer comes, it may not be necessarily in the form of words." She said that she was ready to listen. I firstly asked, "Do you realise that you will have to let go of the ring at some point, perhaps quite soon? How much more time do you need before you'll be ready to let go of it? Will you become less when you let go of it? Has who you are become diminished by the loss? Has who you are become diminished by the loss?" There were a few minutes of silence after the last question. When she started speaking again, there was a smile on her face, and she seemed at peace. "The last question made me realise something important," she said. "First, I went to my mind for an answer, and my mind said, 'Yes, of course you've been diminished.' Then I asked myself the question again, 'Has who I am become diminished?' This time I tried to feel rather than think the answer, and suddenly I could feel my I amness. I've never felt that before. If I can feel the I am so strongly, then who I am hasn't been diminished at all. I can still feel it now, something peaceful but very alive. That is the joy of being, I replied. You can only feel it when you get out of your head. Being must be felt. It can't be thought. The ego doesn't know about it because thought is what it consists of. The ring was really in your head as a thought that you confused with your sense of I. That you confused with the sense of I am. You thought the I am, or part of it, was in the ring. Whatever the ego seeks and gets attached to are substitutes for being that it cannot feel. Whatever the ego seeks and gets attached to are substitutes for being that it cannot feel. You can value and care for things, but whenever you get attached to them, you will know it's the ego. And you are never really attached to a thing, but to a thought that has I, me, or mine in it. Whenever you completely accept a loss, you go beyond ego and who you are. The I am, which is consciousness itself, emerges. Whenever you completely accept a loss, you go beyond ego, and who you truly are, the I am, which is consciousness itself, emerges. She replied, "Now I understand something Jesus said that never made much sense to me before. If someone takes your shirt, let him have your coat as well." That's the turn the other cheek teaching of Jesus Christ. "That's right," I said. As Eckhart said, "It doesn't mean you should never lock your door. All it means is that sometimes letting things go is an act of far greater power than defending or hanging on." In the last few weeks of her life, her body became weaker. As her body became weaker, she became more and more radiant, as if light was shining through her. She gave many of her possessions away, some to the woman she thought had stolen the ring, and with each thing she gave away, her joy deepened. When her mother called me to let her know she had passed away, she also mentioned that after her death they found her ring in the medicine cabinet in the bathroom. Did the woman return the ring, or had it been there all the time? Nobody will ever know. One thing we do know is this: life will give you whatever experience is most helpful for the evolution of your consciousness. How do you know this is the experience you need? Because this is the experience you are having at this very moment. Is it wrong then to be proud of one's possessions, or to feel resentful toward people who have more than you? Not at all. That sense of pride, of needing to stand out, the apparent enhancement of oneself through more than and diminishment of through less than, is neither right nor wrong. It's simply the ego. The ego isn't wrong, it's just unconscious. When you observe the ego in yourself, you're beginning to go beyond it. Don't take the ego too seriously. When you detect egoic behaviour in yourself, smile. At times you may even laugh. How could humanity have been taken in by this for so long? After all, know that the ego isn't personal. It isn't who you are. If you consider the ego to be your personal problem, then that's just more ego. So that was the story. I hope it was helpful, particularly for me. I find it very inspiring to see how this woman was able to turn such a negative event really into a way to see herself more deeply and see the thought forms that she was so attached to. And yeah, I find it a really helpful reminder in a way. And also just what Eckhart comments, that life really is giving you whatever experience that is most helpful for the evolution of your consciousness right now. And for me, that's inspiring and beautiful, that really it's secret to life seems to be about making friends with our experience and trying to work with it rather than going to war with it, so to speak. Anyway, I will leave that there and see you next time.